Hello viewers, welcome to Diagnostics. Today we have a 2013 Mercedes Sprinter with a 3.0 liter. The customer complaint on this van is the SRS light remains on the dash while the engine is running. And there are also a couple messages on the dash display that come on when the engine is running. This van is also here for a DPF clean. We're gonna clean the DPF on this van. I have done a couple videos on the channel about how to clean a DPF on the Sprinter van, so I'm not gonna film that, but I'm gonna show you how to fix one of the issues that cause the SRS light to remain on the dash. So I'm gonna show you the light that's remaining on first, and then we're gonna talk about what directions we're gonna go so we can fix whatever that's causing that light to remain on the dash. So as you can hear, the engine is running and the SRS light remains on the dash right there. And we have a message that says SRS restraint system, visit shop. And another one says seat belt system, visit shop. Okay, so the message is on this display over here. All right, so customer's complaint confirmed. So now I'm gonna turn off the engine. I'm gonna turn the key on. I'm gonna get the scan tool connected to the vehicle, and then I'll bring you guys back up so we can do a code scan. I got the scan tool connected to the vehicle. I'm gonna bring it up. So let's scan the control unit on the vehicle. So right there, the scan tool has identified the vehicle. Let's click OK. We have 0 codes in the engine computer, 0 codes in the transmission computer. We have 1 code in the airbag control unit. And our code is 9013, and it says driver's seat belt buckle switch open. Okay, so this code over here is what's causing the SRS light to remain on the dash. Okay, so there is a problem with the driver's seat belt buckle switch. Okay, so let's scroll down and see what else we have in the other control units. We have 1 code in the SAM control unit, brake wear sensor, open circuit in wiring. So there is also a problem with the brake wear sensor. Now in this video, I'm going to focus on this code over here, which is causing the SRS light to remain on the dash. And all these control units don't have any codes in them, so that's good. And then we have some DPF codes on the generic side of the tool. So we are not here to fix these DPF codes. We are going to focus on this 1 code over here in the airbag control unit. So we're gonna click on airbag. Let's go into the airbag control unit. Let's see the code once again. So here is our trouble code, 9013 S68/1 driver's seat belt buckle switch open circuit. Okay, so let's back out. Let's go to data. Let's see if we can get some buckle switch data PIDs. So we have CAN input signals, CAN output signals. Let's go to CAN input signals. Let's see what we have there. Let's go. So no data is being returned for this data group. That's interesting. So for some reason we cannot look at the data for this. That's odd. No data is being returned for this data group. This data group may not be supported on this variant. That's interesting. So let me try to erase this code. So as you can see, our code is there. So let's try to erase it and see if it's going to go away. So our code is erased. Let's see if it went away. As you can see, our code is not going away. So this is a hard code. It's actually there as we speak. Let me try it once again. Let's see if it's going to go away. So our code is not going away. All right, so now what we need to do is let's get to this driver seat belt buckle switch and do some tests at the switch. And if the switch is open, then we're going to go ahead and replace the switch. So this should be pretty easy and pretty straightforward. So I'm going to get the scan tool out of the way. Actually, before we look at the driver's side seat belt buckle switch, let's look at the wiring diagram and familiarize ourselves with how this driver's side seat belt buckle switch is wired. Hold on, if you're not a subscriber to this channel, I have a favor to ask you. I want you to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. Smash the like button, I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now let's continue with the video. Here is our wiring diagram, and here is our driver seat belt switch. As you can see, this is a normally open switch, and it's a very simple circuit. So there is a ground that goes to the switch. So this over here is a ground. There's ground on one side of the switch, and then the other side of the switch goes to this module over here, this occupant restraint controller module. So this is the airbag module. Now, just looking at this wiring diagram, I can tell about how this system works. Now, I didn't read about how it works, but just looking at the switch and this module, this is very straightforward. So I believe the module sends down a voltage, this wire. So the module sends down a voltage down this wire, okay, some type of bias voltage. It could be 5 volts, 10 volts, 2 volts, I don't know, maybe lower than that. So there's a voltage that comes down this wire all the way to the switch, and then when the switch closes when we click the driver side belt. Okay, so when you click the belt on the driver side, you close the switch, and then the voltage on this wire gets pulled to ground because we complete the circuit between this ground and this wire. So the voltage on this wire gets pulled to ground, and when that voltage goes down to ground, that's how the airbag module knows that that's how it knows that the belt has been clicked, and then the SRS light goes off on the dash. Okay, so since this light keeps coming on, that means the switch over here is probably stuck open. Even when the seat belt is clicked, the voltage doesn't go to ground. That's how that light is remaining on. Okay, so now let's go to this switch and do some tests at the switch. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to bypass the switch with a test light. We're gonna disconnect this switch and bypass the switch with a test light. We're gonna connect our test light across these 2 wires to see if our SRS light will go off on the dash. After we bypass the switch with our test light, if our SRS light goes off on the dash, that will tell me that the wiring is good. at that point the problem would be the switch. Okay, so now let's go back to the vehicle and do some tests at the switch. We are here under the driver's seat, and this wire over here, I hope you can see this wire. This wire is the wire that goes to the seat belt switch. So I'm gonna pull it out. Hopefully we can get to the connector. So here is the connector for the seat belt switch. It's hard to show you what I'm doing, but I hope you can see this connector over here. You see this yellow connector? This connector is the connector for the seat belt switch. So I'm going to disconnect it. Okay, so I got the switch disconnected here. Okay, so this is the connector that goes to the switch. And then this over here, this one is the harness side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to back probe these wires. So I hope you can see. Let me zoom you guys in a little bit. So you see this wire over here. So I'm back probing these two wires. So this is the connector on the harness side. So I back probed the wires for the seat belt switch. So I got the wires of the seat belt switch back probed. So right here. Okay, so now we're gonna use this test light to bypass our switch. I'm gonna connect my test light to our back probing tools. Okay, so our test light is connected to the connector of the seat belt switch. So now this is the setup that we have. Okay, now our test light. So this test light over here is bypassing the switch. So if the problem is the switch, as you can see here is its connector. If the problem is the switch, now we should be able to clear the code. Remember, the code was not going away when we cleared it. Now we should be able to clear the code. And if we can clear the code now, that will tell me that the switch is bad. And at that point, we're gonna go ahead and replace the switch. So now I'm gonna bring up our scan tool. So let's look at the scan tool. The key is still on the dash. So let's back out and clear the code. Let's see if the code is gonna go away now. Let's go to codes. So now the code, our code has changed. Now it says short circuit to ground. You see that? Before we had 9013, and now our code is 9012. Okay, remember before we had an open circuit code, now we have a short to ground code. Now the fact that we can change our code from open to short to ground, this tells me that the problem is the switch. Okay, now if you're still wondering, maybe you didn't see that, let's go to our codes history. if we double click on this one, you see that our code, here is the code that we had before. Look at this one. It was 9013 and it said driver's seatbelt buckle switch open circuit. We had an open circuit code before. Okay, now we have a short to ground circuit. So the fact that we can go from open circuit to short to ground, okay, because we are connecting a test light between that signal wire that comes from the airbag control unit and the ground wire. Once we connect the test light there, we are basically sending ground. We're pulling that voltage straight to ground. So the problem in this vehicle is the switch. Okay, so no questions about it. This switch over here is bad. We're gonna have to replace this switch. The switch is defective. Okay, so just because we can move this code from open circuit to short to ground, this tells me that our circuit is good. The circuit from the switch all the way to the airbag module is good. The problem is the switch. So now let's look at under the seat again. So now I'm gonna go ahead and remove my test light. Okay, so we can get our test light unplugged. When we bypass the switch with the test light, we have a short to ground code. So we're good to go. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove this switch. Okay, I'm gonna get a new switch ordered from Mercedes, and once I get a new switch, I'll bring you guys back up so that we can install it. Okay, a couple of hours later, I called the Mercedes dealership so I could get a driver's side seat belt switch. They said they had it. They sent it to me, and here it is. Here is the part number for it, and here is our switch. Okay, so we're gonna get it out of the bag. So this is what we're gonna install, and I'm sure after we install this switch, the SRS light is gonna go off on the dash. Now, installing this is really straightforward. There is a bolt on the side of the seat that we have to undo. Once I undo that bolt, I'm gonna remove this switch. I'm gonna install this one and tighten the bolt and reconnect the wire, and that's it. Okay, so this is very straightforward. Now, before we install this, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to connect this connector to the harness side of the vehicle to see if our trouble code will go away. Okay, so now let's connect this to the vehicle and see if our trouble code will now be erased. All right, guys, here is our new switch. So I'm going to connect it. Let's connect it to our harness on the vehicle. So, okay. So this is the connector for the old switch, and this is the connector for the new switch. Let's connect this to the vehicle and see what happens. Okay, so I have our new switch connected. I don't know if you guys can see. So we have, this is our new switch over here. Okay, our new switch is connected to the vehicle. So now let's see if our trouble code is now going to be erased. Actually, before we look at the scan tool, let's start the engine first and see if our SRS light is going to go off. Oh, right there. The SRS light went off. So no more lights on the dash. So this is fixed, guys. SRS light went off. Check engine light is off. I mean, the check engine light wasn't on, and there is no message over here that says seatbelt system visit shop. Only the brake wear light is on, so the seatbelt message is gone. I'm going to turn off the engine, turn the key on. Let's grab our scan tool. Our code should now be gone. So our short to ground code is still there. This is what we caused when we were bypassing the switch with the test light. So let's back out and clear the codes. So this is fixed, guys. This was a quick and easy one. So let's read the code again. Right there. No codes present. Okay. So we're good. So now let's back out. So let's do a codes clear, and then we're going to read the codes again in all the control units. All right, so we cleared the codes out of all the control units. Now let's do another code scan. The scan tool is done scanning all the control units. As you can see, in the airbag control unit, we have 0 codes. Okay, so we're good to go. All right, so we have fixed what was causing the SRS light to remain on the dash. We're gonna remove this seat belt switch. There is a bolt over here that we have to undo. So this is a torque bolt, and this is a T45 torque. So we're gonna undo this bolt over here, just like that. So there's no need to remove this plastic cover. So here comes our bolt, and the switch should come out. So you just push it out like that, and here is the wire of the switch. So here is our seat belt switch. Here is our new one. Okay, now I'm gonna get a zip tie and zip tie the wire down this way, and then we're gonna install this one. So this is very straightforward and very easy to install. Okay, I'm gonna zip tie this wire down here, and then we're gonna install our new switch. Okay, so now I'm gonna install our new switch. So our new switch is gonna go in this way. I'm gonna feed the wire down this way first. So once you feed the wire under the seat, and then you just have to connect it, and that's it. Easy peasy. So I fed the wire through all the way under the seat, and then now I'm gonna install our bolt. And then we're gonna tighten this bolt. So that's it. This is how you remove and replace a seatbelt switch on a Dodge Sprinter or Mercedes Sprinter. I'm gonna reconnect the electrical connector, and we should be good to go. So I'm gonna leave this right over here What was causing the SRS light to remain on the dash was a defective seatbelt switch. We replaced the seatbelt switch, the light went off, and now all is well. So I hope you liked the video. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. Thanks for watching. See you next time.